that we can watch our diet and we can be really careful, but there's just, hey, there's just other things going on that we are just exposed to, and these are ways of getting rid of that exposure and keeping your body down to a minimal burden of what you're being exposed to.
Right,
Okay?
right.
Another thing here is there is a product called XEO. And what it is it's equivalent to 1,000 milligrams of fish oils and 1,000 milligrams of borage and primrose and flax. There's 10 essential oils in it, and it is an omega combination. And one drop, due to its concentration and what the healing properties are, it's comparative to just regular types of supplements of the omega oils that are being sold. So this is much more concentrated, and you'll find an increase in your energy and focusing and vitality. But another one that I want to talk about is this Alpha CRS Plus. That is a highly concentrated oil that is made from algae. And algae pulls all kinds of radiation out of the cell. So, people who have been going through radiation treatments for a cancer, this will pull the radiation out.
Oh, wow.
So it's easier than having to swallow some capsules of Elgin or super algae, product.
Uh-huh.
So, people who have brain fog constantly, they're lacking in omega-3 oils in their body. So, one of the things here that I wanted to mention, Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's disease responds really well. There's a product called DDR, and this is on the herbalmedicinedr.com website. This DD Prime has frankincense, wild orange, lemongrass, thyme, summer savory, clove, neroli. It corrects RNA and DNA damage.
Oh, wow.
And there's clinical studies that support the cellular repair that takes place. And this is with Parkinson's disease. The frankincense helps with the tremors and the seizures. You can add the combination balance to that, and that is very grounding and balancing to the system. Lavender, you can add lavender. You can add cypress. Cypress is also used for tremors, and you put it at the pulse point, so you're on your wrists and the inside of the elbow, where normally wherever you were,
right,
told to put perfume or
knees.
Whatever, the back of your knees, behind your ears, pulse point, on
right,
the neck, bottom of the feet. So that's something to be used with Parkinson's disease. And I don't know, did you hear, on the autopsy on Robin Williams? They did determine that, yes, he had Parkinson's disease, but he also had an extremely rare form of dementia. And that dementia that he was dealing with is real weird, very rare type of dementia, coupled with the Parkinson's disease. The Parkinson's disease really made the dementia worse.
Wow.
It exacerbated the dementia. And so they're saying that he probably was not even aware of what he was doing.
Really?
Because this type of dementia causes severe hallucinations.
So you think he was that far? He was
I I know that they just said that he may have not even realized what he was doing because of the hallucinations that you can deal with. And I immediately, when I heard about that, and I was being told that, it's like I immediately imagined his movie Jumanji.
Right.
With all
Right.
the animals and all the weirdness. And I was like, whoa, this is like, what a trip. Did he write that? It was like,
Oh, I couldn't tell you. I'm not
I wonder
sure.
if he wrote it and I wonder if he produced it. And it's like, I wonder if it was an early onset, just like, hey, I got this really wild idea for this movie. That's like animals everywhere and stuff everywhere. It's pretty wild. But yeah,
Very
so,
interesting. I did not realize that.
really, really sad, So, I mean, here's a formula that there have been clinical studies to support this combination. And remember that your oils penetrate the cell wall because they're oils. So oil is to oil. And that every cell in our body, the trillions and trillions and trillions of cells, every single cell is covered in omega-3. So it protects things from getting into the cell because of that fat covering of the omega-3. But the essential oils are able to get into the cell. And this one corrects RNA, DNA damage. So, again, it's things that can be put on the bottom of the feet. MS, multiple sclerosis. Using basil, the invigorating blend, cloves, frankincense, lemon, and melaleuca. And you rub that down the spine from the base of the neck down to the very tip of the tailbone for people with MS. And you put that in a carrier oil, a good quality carrier oil, and never corn oil. I mean, that's therapeutic grade oils that make up about 15% of the industry of oils, therapeutic ones. Those are essential oils that are put into carrier oils, like stuff you really don't want to put on your body. I don't want corn oil. I don't want no mazola put on my body. It's like I don't want no lard put on my body. Don't mix it with stuff like that. So, but the MS. So again, basil, the invigorating blend, clove, frankincense, lemon, melaleuca. So if you're doing like 4 ounces of oil, cloves can kind of have a burning feeling to it. So, I would use like 4 drops of the clove. But as far as the basil and the invigorating blend, frankincense, lemon, I would use 10 drops of that. And then the melaleuca, which is tea tree oil, I maybe use 5. And rub that along the spine. Put that behind the ears. Put it at the temples. Put it across, the very top of the forehead, the very top of the skull. Okay, for MS. Okay, and since that is an autoimmune problem, and I talked before about autoimmune problems, that what's in there with the autoimmune, but it's specifically it's a deterioration of the myelin sheath. That's the covering on the nerve endings. And so you'd want to correct the RNA DNA, with a condition like that. So the product DDR Prime, the one that you use with the Parkinson's disease, would also be something where you'd be adding 10 drops of that into the MS as well. So, there's things too that you can do with those diffusers. Put those oils in a diffuser, 1 drop of each, and diffuse that into the air so that you're smelling it. The ones that are food grade, you can also put a drop of that, like on the side of your hand and lick it. And then immediately, your senses start going. And it's kind of like, if you're making that up and you're going to diffuse it so that you can smell it, that kind of triggers and releases things in the brain, tells systems and stuff to get going and moving. And then you take that in internally. It's kind of no different maybe than coming through the front door, and I know like growing up, I like my great grandma's, she walked through the door and it was like, it just always smelled like spaghetti. It was like one big meatball. I was like, yeah, meatballs. And so, the smell. And what's ironic is, it was just like so cool is like, after my grandma moved out of that house that she lived in for 48 years, she sold it to my aunt. And my aunt didn't cook. And, but every time, I'd go over to my aunt's house to hang out, I just opened up the door and it was like, it still smelled like meatballs.
Dang.
And it was like stucco walls and stuff, and it was like, yeah, 48 years. This is permeated that plaster all the way to the lap board, and that house probably to this day probably still smells like meatballs. Spaghetti sauce, So, but yeah, so considering some of the things I've talked about today, and being able to get the one product that works with the pulling the toxins out of the body. That particular formula, the Zendocrine. We've got mercury. We're still exposed to arsenic. Mercury causes skin and muscle and neuropsychological emotional problems, deterioration of the bone, arsenic settlement, cancers, discolorations of the skin. We've got just so many. The benzenes in the air causing anemia and cancer. The BPA chemicals coming out of the plastics and stuff like that, that's causing a lot of endocrine. It's that glandular system imbalances. So, the cancers, the hormone-based cancers, cancer, the deterioration of the nerve endings, the MS, the mercury, liver damage, kidney damage, the fracking releasing all kinds of toxins into the air and certainly into the ground and trash in the water. And there's really, oh my God, there's so much going on. And we hear that we're 70% water, but yes, we're 70% water. But if you get to a molecular level on that, really stop and think about it. What do you think the kidneys are comprised of? What do you think holds and makes all of that tissue?
Right.
We're more like 99% water.
Oh, really?
From a molecular standpoint, So the the alkaline water is I just really can't encourage people enough. At $8.95, that is just wow. It is just such an affordable product, and then the air, everything in our air, air purification. If you get a hold of Greg at 775-432-2861, tell him you heard it on Kingdom of Healing. There's an additional $25 discount he'll give you on the water purifier, the alkaline water machine for $8.95.
Still want one of those things.
God, I love mine. Oh man, I love mine. And then I've got a little portable one, so that if I go out of town and stuff, I've got my little portable one. It makes 20 ounces at a time, but I still have my alkaline water with me. And that about wraps it up for today.
Right on. Right on.
We've been listening to Kingdom of Healing, and this is Kimberly Mateo, 710 Radio.